And Brad Holmes certainly gave his press conference as well, and I know Easy UK had some of the highlights on that, where I think there is some things to read between the lines where he talked about the free agency. And I think, and you've heard me really be very clear about this, because I think people are feeling pretty good right now, and what usually follows that is, well, let's go flip this whole thing in free agency this year. And for the Lions, in my opinion, they're not there yet in terms of the roster to where 2 free agents are going to set you free, or 2 free agents are going to come in and change everything. This Lions team's not at that point yet. And I think Brad Holmes said that without saying that when he talks about we're going to look for guys with chips on their shoulders in free agency.
Yeah.
And we did see that. I mean, that was kind of his pattern of guys that he did bring in. When I hear that, I mean, cool, we're not going to spend a ton of money on guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing you harped on, too, was, like, finding guys that, like, truly fit. And I'm with it, especially if your, like, whole thing is, biting kneecaps, being that Neal Ruhl on the golf course. I'm still freaking going for this thing no matter what. Like, you need guys with that mentality. You don't need the diva type of guys. And, like, if you're really honing in on that being what you want, guys with chips on their shoulders, yeah, you're not going to spend a lot of money, but also just the fit and the mentality of what Dan Campbell and company represent, the hard-nosed football, that no-stop mentality, the kneecap-biting mentality. And I like it. He did say something interesting that I think would catch your eye or your ear. He called Trey Flowers the ultimate glue guy. He's one of the guys taking the most cap space on this defense. What do you think of that? Bringing back Trey Flowers for another year, possibly.
Yeah, because I've talked about that, and you're going to keep him for another year just based on the numbers. And this is something I talked about in September, October, November, December, on into January right now, to where if you want to cut him loose right now, you're paying him $13 million to not play. That number becomes a little more palatable next year, which was part of my calculation in the hashtag 2023 movement. It's $5.6 million of dead cap next year. So I do think, and that plays into it, guys, where I say the Lions aren't there yet as far as going into free agency and blowing out the books and adding a bunch of people and doing all that stuff. They're not going to do that approach. They have, as it sits right now, I think they got about $31-ish million in cap space. You still got to sign your rookie class that you draft. Now, remember, too, you're talking about 3 of the first 33 picks. So you're going to spend a little more money on your rookie class this year than you do generally, because you got 2 first-round picks that you have to lock up. So think about it from that perspective, too. You're going to have the number 2 overall pick that's going to be coming in probably about $8 to $9-ish million per year. But you see how this shrinks all of a sudden, though? And that's why I want everybody to be real about the whole free agency situation. You want to re-sign Charles Harris? You like what you saw?
Yes.
That's about $8 million. $8 to $9 million. You see what I'm saying, though? You got a first-round pick at $8 to $9 million. You want to do Charles Harris. Is he your biggest priority?
As far as keeping the guys on the team,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say he's one of the priorities, yes.
He's one of the priorities.
There's not big priorities because no one's, like, popping off the film to you, but he's one guy listening to Brad Holmes just say sounds like they're going to entertain keeping him here as a Detroit Lion.
Yeah. PGL61, I think you should cut him anyway. He's been hurt and been a waste of roster space. So, it is where that's what we're going to think, because that's what it's been. I mean, that's not my estimation. That's not a guess.
Yeah.
Look at the resume. The resume's grim. It just is. Especially because when you have these guys that are $23 million guys in the NFL, you can't miss. Mm-hmm. You can't miss on them because of what they represent and the percentage of the cap that he is. And with Trey Flowers, his contract, is he good? Is he a good player? Yeah. He was a good player at one time. He was not a good player this year because he didn't play. Is he an 11% of your cap player?
The thing with him, though, is, like, what he spoke on him in his, like, leadership and being an ultimate glue guy, like, and what they're trying to build is the culture that's that's the reason why you keep guys like D-Mac in the locker room. You know what I'm saying? Guys who've been there at that level, played high, like for what we're changing the young guys in the locker room towards, or what we want them to do, play their role, which he did during the Matt Patricia days when stuff was falling all around him and people were leaving left and right. He stayed true. He stayed true to what the coach was game plan and stuff like that. And I think he holds that value. And we've seen in the games this year that, like, yeah, he still is like there on the field too. And cutting him was, I feel like, more of a detriment than keeping him. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, see, I would like to cut, but at the same time, you're gonna feel a lot of pain, man. You are if you start taking the scissors, because I want Okudah to cut. You know what I'm saying? Like, the writing's kind of on the wall. I know people are gonna say, "Oh, how can you give up?" I think we've seen enough to know that he's not going to be a $7 or $8 million a year player. Like, you got to make these hard. Easy, this stuff's hard, man. Like, you got to make hard decisions. And again, when you look at the Lions, the Charles Harris thing, guys that get as many sacks as he got, especially a former first-round draft pick, he's going to get paid from somebody. Especially, too, as we go back and we discuss all the things that we talked about, just as far as the passing league and going forward on fourth down and score points and be aggressive, pass rushers are the only, the main way you neutralize that. Yeah. That's how you turn the game on its ear. That's how you flip a play. A sack is one of the most valuable plays in football that's not a touchdown, man.
1,000%. Or you get a playmaking safety named Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame. Just saying.
the offensive back history will give Lions fans PTSD if they went ahead and pulled the trigger on that. So just be ready for that. Jose De La O says, disagree. You have a $12 million dead cap hit, but you get $10 million in cap savings. And I guess that's the philosophy, Jose, is where going forward next year, and I guess I value the fact that you will have him more than you value the fact that you're paying him to go away. And that's just a philosophy thing. I will have him in case there is a turnaround and all of a sudden he stays healthy and gets out there and makes plays. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess that's where I am with it. To whereas you say, hey, cut the 12, 13 million and pay him to go away and save 10 million in totality. I guess I'm kind of holding out hope that you will have him and maybe he returns to form a little bit, though I doubt it. You know what I'm saying? If overall where you're already discussing the fact that you're only going to sign free agents that have chips on their shoulders, which we know what that means, I think you're being let in on the philosophy a little bit.
Yeah, I think, too, like, when healthy, he was somewhat productive. Maybe not to the value of his contract, but still, he is productive there on the field. And then let's be real, like, we're not good. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, we're not a good football team.
No, they are 3-13-1, despite all the positive sentiment.
And we're trying to, like, again, and I hate to harp it on, and I know that my man D-Max is his chair says this all the time, but we're trying to establish a culture here. I mean, look at how thirsty the Pistons are right now for veteran leadership. You know what I'm saying? That everyone says that's the key right now. Get some veterans on this team. Well, you have one in Trey Flowers. I mean, you have to next year to make the decision. It wasn't clear cut, but it sounds like he may be here. But you did almost tempt me though. Think about Harris being $8 million, because if we do cut Flowers, we could keep Harris.
Right. I mean, theoretically, yeah, you could do that, and then you have Harris in place, and you're rid of the whole Trey Flowers experience. To me, it's where I'm gonna spin it one more time with him and see, because that number becomes much more manageable. And Jose's financial guy here too on our YouTube chat thread, as I'm seeing, he talks about Jeff Okudah. Jeff Okudah cut means a cap hit of $19 million goes up to $29 million, all applied to 2022. Not a good idea. And I understand that, and that's why I'm backing off a year on Okudah too. This is all part of my 2023 formula, guys. This is what all goes into it. Again, he becomes eminently more cuttable after next season as well. You see me working, you see like the tracker, it's games, it's cap space, it's draft capital. It all kind of culminates in 2023. There's still some washing to do. It's like a mobster's accountant right now. You still have to wash these books if you're the Lions.
And honestly, I'm not ready to put Okudah to the curb yet. Like, I'm good. He got hurt this year. And to see what Aubrey Pleasant and you know what, and
to cut you off there, Easy, that's part of it too. That's still a controlled spin. While I don't believe it, like I'm taking a chance on him. While I don't believe it's going to happen,
yeah,
I can take that chance, and if it doesn't work out, then I can close the book.
Yeah, you talking the following year?
Right.
Yeah, no, yeah. Because again, too, I like to touch on Aubrey Pleasant and Anthony Glenn and what they did with the secondary. These guys we've seen literally get signed off the street. I mean, Jerry Jacobs, one of the highest PFF guys throughout the season. You know, again, he was an undrafted free agent. So, like, I have faith that Anthony Lynn, Aaron Glenn.
No, he gone.
Yeah, he gone. Anthony Glenn and Aubrey Pleasant can salvage a little bit of Jeff Okudah, and whether he becomes a safety or maybe like a nickel cornerback, like I still think there could be something done with it. I mean, I don't think we've seen the final totality of what Jeff Okudah is as a football player in the NFL.
Okay, and that's fair. And under my plan, where I'm going to keep him for the one more year, we can test that theory out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And again, it comes back to it. And there's a whole Trey Flowers discussion right now. Tactile Puma 58 says return to form is like 7.5 sacks. And I guess if you're into the leadership and that whole business that people talk about, I guess there is something to that too. And Brad Holmes kind of touched on that a little bit with what he said. So, Chris, bottom lines, it says, hey, it comes down to what would you rather have, Flowers or $10 million to spend on other players. And, for me, again, Easy's theory kind of intrigues me, I guess, a little bit, where if you're going to give me a Harris for Flowers flip and I'm rid of the Flowers contract permanently, but Harris, I'm big on him, but how long you going on that? You know what I'm saying? How many years you doing? What's that number looking like? They say the market value of him right now is anywhere from $8 to $9 million a year. So everyone's going to say they like him based on what happened. Do you like him $8 to $9 million a year?
What's Okwaro's contract? Do you know? Romeo's?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what it is, like just in terms of numbers and where he is.
3 years, $37 million.
Yeah, but he's a $14.5 million cap hit this year. So, I mean, you're kind of into him. You got to see what the story is with him as well. So
I mean, maybe we might have to let Harris walk. I mean, I don't know. As if you have faith in Brad Holmes to find another Harris. I mean,
see, and that's it too. And we're still, and even me who celebrates Brad Holmes, even me who celebrates him, probably isn't giving it the proper credit it deserves. Because if you're going to go in, then you got to go all the way in. And going all the way in is doing these types of things that we're saying, where you're going to let Harris walk. I should be programmed to say, yeah, because Brad Holmes is going to find another one for $900,000 a year.
Yeah, and then do we have a list by chance, Sawyer, of the guys they signed yesterday? Because I'm kind of curious to see if there's any of those guys are edge rushers to fill that void. Yeah, we got one at the very top, Eric Banks, linebacker, Devontae Beckett, another defensive end, Bruce Hector. I'm not familiar with any of these names though, to be 100% honest with you, but it looks like there's some edge rushers that may be there. And don't forget too, when it comes to the Harris conversation, I am a fan of the Detroit Lions. He made some amazing plays in that Cardinals game and throughout the season, really. And I say I want to keep him, but ultimately, if we're being logical, there are some premier pass rushers at the top of the draft, which we hold the second overall pick. Kayvon Thibodeau could easily be that replacement and do what he does and more.
You've reached the end of the video. You know what you should do? Press like. You know you like the content that we have here at Woodward Sports Network. I'm Braylon Edwards from the bottom line. Subscribe to us right now.